But there's a happy ending in your story, so
Yes,
that's a good thing.
there's
And that
hope.
happy ending is Jesus.
Yes.
Yes. And so we're going to talk about how God has influenced you in your walk. But first, I wanted to just have the viewers hear your story. So tell me more about the OCD when the signs started coming to the surface.
Well, they started coming to the surface. Well, I would used to kind of have obsessive thoughts. Like I said, I was an overachiever.
Yeah.
And so I was always a worrier.
Yeah.
Did I get that A? How am I going to do on the test?
Yeah.
I was always so nervous. And, you know, I also used to, you know, my parents kept a very nice, neat, you know, home and you know, average. But I always seemed to have things organized, alphabetized, extremely.
So you're a little bit uptight.
Yeah.
About things like that.
Yeah, very square corners on the sheets and all that.
Yeah.
But when it really started surfacing, I noticed was in kind of my late 20s.
Okay.
And I started to have panic attacks. I would always have panic attacks about choking.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And I started to get very obsessive about cleaning. Now, I was trained in the medical field, and so, you know, that is, you know, normal that you just have a certain way of doing things, but I always took it to the excess.
Yeah.
And I would start to, like, not wear shoes, you know, beyond a certain point in my house. And I would have to go and clean wherever shoes had, you know, touched the floor.
So it seemed like it came on little by little then.
Yeah.
It wasn't just all at once. It was just started creeping in little by little in these areas of your life.
Yeah.
It got worse.
Yeah. And I don't know, you know, whether other people saw. There could have been more earlier. But as far as what I knew.
Right.
That's when it really started. And then especially if I was in that worry mode or I was going through some kind of emotional crisis or up or down, it would either go up or down with my emotions.
Right, okay.
Become more intense. You know, it would be, I have to do this. You know, I have to. And I couldn't just let things go. There would be times where I recently spoke to someone about checking is one of an OCD type symptom that you can do, and where people have to check doorknobs and locks and stoves and things. And I would always be panicked if I had remembered to close and lock the front door, or if I had turned off the light. I would be known to drive all the way back from work on my lunch break. I lived half an hour from my work just to make sure that I'd be like, you know, halfway to work.
And sometimes we all get that feeling like, oh my gosh, did I turn off the hair curler or did I turn the iron off? And so that's normal, but when it gets to where it's driving your life, your behavior, that's when it's potentially a problem.
When it's taking control over your life and you can't get past the thought without taking an action, then that's kind of a little bit of a warning sign.
Right. So tell me what it was like at your worst, Adele. With the OCD.
At my worst.
And what did it feel like to be there? What was your emotional state?
My worst was I was having problems in my marriage, and we were having problems financially, and I emotionally, you know, we weren't connecting. I was literally almost afraid of the air. I almost became agoraphobic.
Okay.
I couldn't go outside. Before I would come inside, there was always this ritual that I had to do. Cleaning and vacuuming. Before I left, there was this ritual that I had to do. So it became just easier to stay in my little cocoon and stay inside, because I was getting to the point, you know, I'm sure you've heard in recovery, being sick and tired of being sick and tired.
Yes.
And I was at that point because I would be crying. I didn't want to do the rituals, but I didn't know what else to do.
Yeah.
And so it was just a lot easier to stay at home. And at the time I had no job and we didn't have a lot of money, so that kind of made it easier to do that. But it wasn't good because I felt like it was like I couldn't control everything that was happening to me or things that were happening inward to me emotionally.
Yeah.
So let me try and control something that I can.
Right.
So that's my own domain.
Right.
Because people
exactly.
used to say, well, I don't see it in you. You know, you seem so normal on the outside. And well, it was around my own domain.
Yeah.
It was around my own house.
Right.
And plus, I was
It was a
so
secret.
Yes.
It was a secret.
I was
yeah.
so ashamed. I didn't want people to think that I was weird.
Yeah.
So that's why you didn't see it.
Right.
Because I
exactly.
worked hard to hide it.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. And where was your faith in all this? Did you have a relationship with Jesus during this period?
I can't say that I had a relationship with Jesus. I believed.
Yeah.
You know, there's been periods in my life where I've had a stronger belief than other times. But at this point in my life, I knew that he was there. I believed in him, but that wasn't really strong.
You weren't crying out to him.
I wasn't crying out.
Yeah.
I wasn't attending church.
Yeah,
I wasn't,
yeah.
you know, serving.
Yeah.
You know, I was ashamed.
Yeah.
And I just...
You
I
felt unworthy to be in
Yes.
church, probably, I would imagine.
Oh, I felt strange.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So, I know your story, so I know how God brought you, because you weren't living up here at that time.
No.
So you through life circumstances, and kind of just skip all those details, but
Yeah.
through life circumstances, you came up here to live with your parents.
Yes.
They lived here, because you went through divorce.
Yes.
And how did that, and that must have really impacted the OCD even worse, right?
Oh my gosh, when I came up here, I was a mess.
And you were suicidal, Adele. I mean,
was.
Yeah, there was a point where you actually thought you were going to take your own life.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was just so devastated by going through the divorce. I was devastated. I was in a new town. I didn't know anybody. The OCD was completely out of
Yeah.
control. And I was depressed. I would stay in bed. I wouldn't get out of bed until
your
3
parents'
o'clock.
heart must have been breaking. I mean,
Oh,
must
they
have
were
felt
scared.
so scared, exactly.
They were scared.
Yeah.
I recently had a talk with my dad about this, and he says, you know, we were really scared when you first came.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and so, and I didn't have any money, and so, you know, I just went to social services and, you know, tried to get, you know, all the help that I possibly could, and there's no real expert
Yeah.
up here about OCD.
Did you know at that time that's what the label was? Did you know
Yeah,
that you, okay.
yeah. I
So
knew that I had had
okay.
it earlier on.
Okay.
And I had been seeking help for it, but I really, it seemed like we were always touching, I always had so many issues on the surface.
Yeah.
So we could barely get through the surface to get down deep.
To the root.
So So I really, the OCD was touched lightly, not in depth.
So tell us the story of how you found our church, the Church of the Nazarene. Tell us about that day.
Okay, yeah, that day. Well, I had attended once because my parents' neighbor took me to church one Sunday, and I just remember just everything being new and just amazed in awe. But then several weeks later, I was driving back. I was running errands, and I was driving on Ridge Road, and I was just done.
You're at the end of yourself.
I was done.
Yeah.
I couldn't take it anymore. I remember I was crying in my car, and I said, "That's it. I'm going to go home. I'm going to grab my anxiety pills," because I had some anxiety pills, and I was going to end it.
Yeah.
I found this nice little spot up 88. I already had it picked out.
Wow.
And I was just going to overlook this beautiful view and take the pills and fall asleep.
Yeah. Wow.
And I barely got past the church, maybe 500 feet from the church. And I can say God because I know it was God now.
Yes.
But God literally turned the wheel around.
Yes.
He said, "There's hope in there. This is your go in there." And so I turned around, and I walked into the office, and I fell on the floor crying. And I said, "I need help.
Wow.
I need help." And fortunately, there was this pastor that was female pastor that was just coming out of the office. She's never in the office, so it was just a God thing that she was there.
Yeah.
And we went into her office, and we talked and we prayed and cried for 2.5 hours.
And she had been through divorce. I know that's part of the story too, because
Yes.
you felt like a failure because you'd gone through divorce and all those
Yes.
things. And to know that here's this woman, I mean, God just totally put her in your life. I mean, the whole thing is totally God ordained.
Yes.
And to know, and so she shared her struggles and things she had been through. And I mean, that's just another example of why we as believers need to share our struggles. And then share our hope too in Christ, so we can give other people hope that are going through it. Because life is hard.
Life
There's
is
tough things we
very
go
hard.
through.
And it's just, and that he cares, and
Yeah.
that he knows.
He
because
knows.
he knew that formula that would trigger me. Because I remember thinking, well, if he made her a pastor, she's been through similar things that I've been through. Well, then maybe, I mean, not that I want to be a pastor or anything, but then maybe
you
there's
can
hope.
overcome.
Yeah, maybe
exactly.
I can, maybe. And that's that little, they say mustard seed
Yes,
of hope.
yes, exactly.
Was instilled.
Yeah, exactly. So was that the moment, because I always love to ask my viewers, when Jesus became real for you? So is that the moment when Jesus became real for you, or was there a different moment when it became your personal Savior?
There's been several different moments.
A process, yeah.
Yeah, and that was when I reclaimed him, and you know, I would say that was the start of him being real, because he was real right in front of me.
Yeah.
You know,
he was your Savior, saving you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Through this pastor.
Yeah.
With unique circumstances that were similar to mine. So he was obviously trying to get my attention.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Intervening, and that's what he does, Adele. And I just really hope people hear that don't know the Lord, or even if you do know the Lord and you've forgotten that he does intervene. He does see us right where we are, and he has a plan for that. I mean, you were at the end of yourself, and God said, "No, I have better plans for you. I plan to give you hope and a future." Right? Exactly.
Yeah, and it didn't. You know, and it doesn't happen overnight.
No, it was a process.
No, it's a complete process.
Because you went through a lot. You went into Celebrate Recovery program, which I know has been a huge help in your life, and mine too.
And then biblical counseling
too. Yeah. So we're actually going to take a break. When we come back, let's talk about some of the solutions that you've discovered in your journey.
Thank
you. Yeah. And please do come back. We'll be right back in 3 minutes.